Claire, is there another world for this frail dust to warm with life and be itself again? Something about me days thinks there must, and why should instinct nourish hopes in vain? 'Tis nature's prophecy that such will be, and everything seems struggling to explain the closed, sealed volume of its mystery. Time wandering onward keeps its usual pace, as seeming anxious of eternity, to meet that calm and find a resting place. E'en the small violet fills a future power, and waits each year renewing blooms to bring. And surely man is no inferior flower, to die unworthy of a second spring. Claire got it wrong. There is no instinct of hope. The instinct is to despair. And yet, I can't help imagine, on a brighter day than this I might, but it's here somewhere. The trees are coming into leaf, like something almost being said. The recent buds relax and spread. Their greenness is a kind of grief. Is it that they are born again and we grow old? No, they die too. Their yearly trick of looking new is written down in rings of grey. Yes, still the unresting castles thresh in full-grown thickness every May. Last year is dead, they seem to say. Begin afresh, afresh, afresh. If it were possible, then... No. There are no new starts, no second chances, no rebirths of hope, just endings, finality, pain and memory. I have been dreaming of home, of family, trying to remake history, imagine it anew. I've been living through a world I recognise and remember, and hoped on waking had changed. But it hadn't changed, could never change. It is. I was standing on the promenade, watching as this pretty little shipwreck of a woman fought her way through a storm to a shelter, and the rescuing smile of my father, a man of poisonous thin lips and heavy moustache. I suppose she found him handsome. She recognised his intelligence. He carried a book, a sure sign of an intelligent man. Intelligence can be measured in the books you read, you live among. 3 days in the miniature gaiety of seasides and they were engaged. But what if she had rejected his offer of shelter? If he had chosen to ignore her, standing there, dripping with rain, huddling, what then? No me, no pain, blissful non-existence. But no, it is still going on, all of it, still going on. I go on. Gone. A sunlight decade. And watch there's no progress to the altar. 5 years of graft, the climb to respectability in Birmingham, and then Doncaster, a town to be transformed, and one where my sister crept into life, Kitty. Father would have no more until such time as a second child could be made economically viable. And then to Coventry. I would never have been born if not for Coventry. Its attractions brought my father prosperity, and his growing status helped him decide he could now afford a son. And so to Eva and Sydney, a child was born, a son was given, and in my dream I saw the birth. Stood in the nave and watched the hypocrisy of my father, who for one day dropped all objection to God and allowed a priest to wet my head in the sandstone walk of the cathedral, its vaulted roof not yet empty and open to the sky. Was that pampered child really me? Selfish, self-seeking, bored, longing for company, forever seeking solitude, the solace of my room? Was that ungainly, stammering infant really me? Unable to express my thoughts with any kind of clarity or dignity. Yes, it was. I feel it now. I hate him. I think I hate all children. My dream was like a sea, and a fresh tide drew me ashore to watch again the arguments that grew like weeds in our home. The slow fade to memory of love between my parents. The sharpening of character. Father to benign dictator, with a temper and tongue that cut to the soul. Mother to a servant, keeping house and keeping quiet, until she couldn't. Her whines punctuate the dream like a soundtrack. At best, they were both unsatisfied. At worst, they danced with death. In Manor Road, I found my home. I saw it clear as an artist's drawing. The 3 stories, the trees, the 6-foot hedge, the pebble dash. Gone now, of course, beneath the concrete feet of modern roads. Ring roads drawing circles around the city, making it a target. Home was much like this. Books everywhere. Growing piles of novels, poetry, science, art, drama. There was much to love in that home, as there was much to despise. We went to Stratford, Shakespeare, music. I was educated in the arts and literature, and clung to their genius like a sailor to a raft. Salvation on a turbulent sea. My father was a complex man. He loved the books, loved many writers. He would stand by the fire and read to me from a novel he'd picked from a pile. I saw him there, smiling as he read, his heart touched for a moment. I saw him there, and saw too that hideous mannequin of Hitler that he so prized, with its touch-button salute. His admiration was obvious, and he went to Nuremberg before the war, to the rallies, where words became weapons, terrifying and cruel. He couldn't be fathomed. I envied and hated him in equal measure, and he gave him an OBE. Home was so sad. I wanted it, trailing an atmosphere of disappointment from my room to every nook and cranny. It needn't have been like that. My parents could have been different. They should have been perfect. But they weren't. And they taught me that people should never live together. And that when they have children, they should be taken from them at the earliest possible opportunity. Now, Henry was someone I could relate to. He did not fear sex, but celebrated its gift. He also gave his name to my school in Coventry. I spent a lifetime there. I dream often of those days, the boys, the masters, the field trips, the lessons, my friends. I had friends. Friends whose families were in stark contrast to mine, who lived in homes where there was love and laughter, with mess and noise that no one minded. Jim and Colin. They had a childhood, and in their kindness led me theirs. We shared it, at least for a while. We loved Bunter. He dared what we did not. We lived our mischief vicariously through him, at least for a while. Then Colin surpassed him in daring at my prompting. School offered little for me at first. In fact, the 10-minute walk to the place was the greatest pleasure of the day, searching for cricketers in the gutter. Cigarette cards were my treasure, and finding them in mud, or dust or sand, brought me joy. When I started the senior forms, things changed. I discovered I was capable of winning prizes. I discovered I had style. Or thought I had. But it was with Jim that I discovered jazz. Jack Perry, Billy Cotton, Louis Armstrong, and Big Speed a bit later. My father bought me a drum kit, and I played record after record, dreaming of my heroes on smoke-clung stages, smell of stale beer, women with red lips and inviting hips. Jazz. I played record after record idly to the consternation of my parents, who thought them pretty, or worse. I might have been in love with Jim. I certainly loved how through him I was able to chart a way through life, connecting my inside to the world outside. I see him still in my dreams, no older than 20, smiling, nonchalant, accepting. But it wasn't just jazz that Jim brought me. It was Auden, Isherwood, Eliot. Well, they were inspired and inspired me. I began to write. Crap, mostly, though friends were kind. I imagined again the reviews. Somewhere in that post-adolescent self-pity, there was potential, if I had been kind enough to myself to see it. But school faded and Oxford beckoned, and along with Jim and Noel, with whom I shared a room, we went. I met Kingsley Amis there. Friend. Cruel in his critique, and at times, god-awful writer. But friend. He must have thought so too. Funny book. But war was waiting, and it called Jim away to ambulances and front lines. Corpses and wounds like red rivers of blood. And the thought of it filled me with terror and shame in equal measure. You know the date. We know it well, we citizens of Coventry. 14th of November, 1940, 7 o'clock. The bombs fell. 500 tons of them. Over 500 killed, including those who ran for shelter to the cathedral cellars, hoping God's hand would shield them. Jim stayed. And that building with which I was intimately connected on account of my baptism was gone. And so were shops and factories. Wheels of bicycles and cars twisted like cheap bangles, cast into craters filled with oil and blood. And homes, gone too, of course, lost to the flames. In 2000, it was said. And much as I hated it, my heart was gripped with fear that mine too was gone. I went home, hitching lifts from Oxford to see for myself what was left, and to discover whether I was now an orphan. My memories as I made my way to the smoking ruin of the city were of my parents' goodness, recognised now for what it was in its imperfect essence, the very thing that had irritated me most. One Manor Road stood. Its door absorbed my knocking and spat out silence. There was no one home. Noel, who joined me on this weird pilgrimage, found the same. Empty houses devoid of sound or light. Shells of darkness spoke of doom. Jim's house was gone completely. There would be no more tea times there with cake and smiles and music and... We returned to college, tired and defeated. I found a telegram waiting. From my father, of course. You were alive. Had moved in with mother's family in Lichfield. If Coventry had endured the hell of Germany, the days in Lichfield were personal hell none of us could endure. We returned to Coventry. In my dream, I'm standing at the gates watching us move back in. Then almost in the blink of a sleeping eye, we are gone and away to Warwick, in another house. You'd never be at home. I wander through the empty rooms and remember. There were moments of happiness. I would write of them later when I prepare to bring the memories to the light of day. Our memories define us only to an extent. They mostly fuel our imaginings as we use them to take revenges upon our yesterdays. But even in dreams, we cannot change the way things were. The way we felt, the hopes, the hurts. We ache to see what might have been, a household powered by joy. Instead, we see the same old things. Hear the voices that drove us away and left us with no inclination to return. But we're so sad. Home is so sad. It stays as it was left, shaped to the comfort of the last to go, as if to win them back. Instead, bereft of any one to please, it withers so, having no heart to put aside the theft, and turn again to what it started as, a joyous shot at how things ought to be. Long fallen wide, you could see how it was. Pictures, cutlery, the music in the piano stool. That vase